Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's Board of Appeals hearing. Before we begin, let me introduce some members of town government that act as advisors to this board. To my left is Valerie Manzo, counsel to the board. To her left is David Flynn, assistant planning director. And to his left is Tom, what's Tom?
No.
O'Brien, assistant representative in the planning department, and to his left is John Bongino, town building director. Now let me tell you why you're here tonight. New York State statute requires that any town that adopts zoning must also have a board of appeals to act as a relief valve so that those persons agreed by strict application of the zoning ordinance can seek relief without the expense of going to court. Town board can give a board of appeals additional powers such as special exception approvals, site plan approvals, etc. In Smithtown, the town board has given this board authority regarding certificate of existing use and some special exception uses. The most common kind of application before the board are area variances. Area variants deal with dimensions such as lot area, frontage, height, setbacks, and parking spaces. New York State mandates that the board must consider the following five criteria in area variances. When you come to the podium to present your application, you need to address these 5 areas. They're posted here for you. Number 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created. Number 2, whether the applicant has other feasible alternatives. Number 3, whether the variance is substantial. Number 4, whether an adverse impact on the environment will be created. And number 5, whether the alleged difficulty is self-created. The statute requires the board to balance the interest of the applicant and those of the neighborhood or community. This statute further requires that the board shall grant the minimum variance and shall deem necessary and adequate, and at the same time preserve and protect the character of the neighborhood and the health, safety, and welfare of the community. The board has the power to impose reasonable conditions for granting variances. Special exception applications are different than area variances. When we have a special exception application before us, I will explain the different criteria for each. Regarding procedure, cases will be called in order that they are advertised. When your case is called, please come forward, submit your affidavits and mailing receipts to Mr. Flynn, and then you will be sworn in at the podium and be given the opportunity to explain to the board why you need the variance. After the applicant is done speaking, all interested parties will be given one opportunity and only one opportunity to be heard. So please, organize your thoughts, keep your remarks factual that are related to the case. Then I will ask the applicant to come back to the podium to answer your concerns. The board will then close the case and reserve decision. After all the hearings are closed, the board will review the cases and decide some of them. Others will be reviewed at a later date. There are 3 ways to find out the results of the case. You can wait until after the public hearing, but there's no guarantee that the board will act on your case tonight. Number 2, you can call the planning department tomorrow afternoon. And number 3, applicants can wait and be notified by mail. We do have one adjournment. Let's see. It's case 16531 DLJ Ventures. It's the Kings Park Garden Center on Main Street in Kings Park. That has been adjourned to January 10th. Was there anyone here that was interested in that case? Okay. The first case tonight then is case 16568, Costello Imports, Inc., 60 Davis Drive, Hauppauge. Location, northeast corner of Davis Drive and Ricefield Lane, Hauppauge. Property zone LI. Request variance to increase the front yard setback from 50 feet to 0 for proposed 6-foot fence. You can just bring those over. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michael Norton. I just submitted power of attorney, affidavit of posting, and all the other paperwork. I apologize. I'm on 18 hours right now. I'm totally exhausted.
Okay. Can you spell your last name for me?
Norton,
All right, and can you give me your address, please?
60 Wildwood Drive, Sound Beach, New York.
Okay. Will you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You want to tell us why you're here, please?
We're looking to get a variance so we could put up a fence on the border of our property to protect the product and to protect the people. We're an import company, and we handle a lot of food. And we're trying to ensure that the quality of our food is not tampered with in any way, our shipping, employees, et cetera, in the building. So we're proposing to build a fence on the border of our property line in the front, which I believe is the south side, and on the border of the west side. Everywhere else, it's within our realm. It's where we meet the setback. I don't believe there'll be an undesirable change because we will be adding approximately 50 arborvitaes around the property to beautify the location, and approximately 75 additional shrubs as well. I don't think that we could achieve our goal through any other method because we're really trying to ensure the product stays safe and the employees as well stay safe, which is a big factor. I don't believe that the request of the area variance is substantial as well. We are in the lighting district, right, the LI district. It is all commercial buildings. There are fences around the properties. Whether they're on the actual border or not, I do not know. But there's no residential houses in the immediate area of where we're proposing to do the fence. We don't believe it'll have an adverse effect on the environment as well because we will be adding so much shrubbery around it. I think it's going to actually add to the environment and the character and the beautification of the property. Now, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created is a little bit more complicated. But the way things are, the times the way they are, we just want to really ensure the quality of our product, that nothing gets tampered with. It is a food product, and it does get imported as well, so we have a lot of trucks shipping, refrigerated trucks. We want to make sure that when they're there, nothing gets tampered with, as well as the safety of the employees. So it really has a lot to do with the times as well as what we're asking for.
Okay. I just want you to know, we go to all the sites.
Right.
All right. So we were there yesterday.
Okay.
I don't know how the other board members feel, but when we went to the site yesterday, you're the only one really that's asking for a fence. It's really not into the character of the industrial park there. No one else has a fence.
You're right. I don't recall seeing any fences on the front border, without a doubt. There are, fences along the back and the side, obviously meeting the setbacks. I agree. But those companies as well aren't producing food products that we want to ensure do not get tampered with in any way, shape, or form. It's a large, import company, and we want to make sure that the product does not, fall into any type of unrisk, any jeopardy, the wrong hands, anybody coming through. There is a residential road about 300 feet back, so there would be people possibly cutting through, the commercial area to get to the main roads, and we're trying to cut back on all the tampering.
Go ahead.
And are your products stored in the refrigerated trucks on the outside of the building, or is everything stored on the inside of the building?
Most of it's all going to be on the inside of the building, but there are products that are going to be in refrigerated trucks waiting to go on the inside of the building as well. There are operating hours and there are truckers' hours. You know, they drive them in. A lot of times they make deliveries at night. There's less traffic, so they might be standing there 3 hours and, you know, they're asleep in a cab or whatever the case may be. We want to keep them safe. We want to keep the food safe, and we want to keep the property safe.
Thank you.
Okay. Planning?
Madam Chair, we have a couple of concerns. One is we're concerned about the effect on the character of the industrial park. As you may know, the Hop Hog Industrial Park, which is formerly the John V. N. Klein Industrial Park, is really one of the premier industrial locations in the whole United States. It ranks up there with Silicon Valley and other places in Massachusetts and North Carolina in terms of desirability. One of the main reasons for that desirability is the character of the industrial park. I think if you ask people from the Hop Hog Industrial Association if character is important in attracting new business, I think the answer would be yes. I think it's also important in protecting the value of the properties in the industrial park and hence the real property tax base to the town of Smithtown. So superficially, or on the first blush, we would not recommend approval of the variance because it's out of character. It would make the area look worse and make it less desirable. The second thing, though, is it looks like that there's an alternative available that doesn't need a variance, and we sketched up on one of the drawings where the fence could be located and be in compliance with the zoning ordinance and protect the trailer area of the site. The negative on that recommendation is the fact that it goes through the parking lot. So an alternative recommendation is also depicted on the drawing that allows the fence in the front yard but set as close to the parking lot as possible as opposed to as close to the street as possible. For those reasons, we'd recommend that the board consider the alternatives.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, have you seen the alternatives?
No, may I have a chance to take a look?
Yes, you certainly can.
So we'd be omitting the front fence on the left side and down the border and just picking it up right off of the building, cutting over?
I think when you say the left side, I think that means like the south end of Ricefield by the corner.
By the corner, yes.
Yeah. That area is actually required parking in the front yard. It's not supposed to be for truck loading of any kind. So that's why we omitted it from that area.
Can I bring this up to you for a second? Just
I don't know, it's up to the chair.
Sure. The only thing is you're going to have to get the microphone. You can take it right out of the...
Is this still here? This
Yes.
meets the setback, so we're good here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're just talking about omitting over here
Right here.
and then just picking it up here. So
Mhm.
this is all omitted, right?
Yeah. All of this is being omitted.
Okay, yeah, because that's his new line,
Mhm.
and he's attaching to the building here. But I got tanks over here is a problem. I have tanks in the ground right along the side of the building.
He's in the mic,
I don't think it's
What
as
he's
close
saying
to,
is he has tanks here.
yeah, that pickup, it's for
What are the
fluid,
tanks for?
fluid to do with the food. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm sure it has to do with olives.
Okay,
That's
they're
probably all.
underground tanks?
Yes.
Okay.
That would be my only issue there, if we could come past the tanks. And as far as the beautification, we're not going to proposing to put a chain link fence in the front of the property. We're proposing to put an ornamental fence, one that would be accepted by the board and approved by the board. So we wouldn't be looking to just put up a chain link fence that's, you know, standard and.
Why don't you go back to the podium and that
Okay.
is talking, so that camera can see.
Recommendation might be, Madam Chair, is to get a spec of what fence they propose.
I believe I submitted a paper showing a picture of the fence when I submitted all the paperwork. It was an actual photo, colored right out of the magazine.
Is it in the folder?
It's a separate, it should be glossy. It was right out of the magazine from it.
Do we have it there?
I definitely submitted it because they wanted to see what the fence looked like. Being I had it printed on the site plan that it was an ornamental fence, and they wanted to. Matter of fact, I could have sworn that I handed it to the gentleman that's standing up now.
I'm sorry.
It just says chain link fence. Here's the ornamental fence down here.
I do remember you saying that there would be one. I don't remember getting it, and there's nothing in the file. Any possibility you could
Get
bring
another
in
one?
another and show it to the board as opposed to me, but we'll make sure that they get it.
When would be the next available time to take care of this?
Well, I think you could bring the literature in any time. The next time the board meets, I think, is January 12th? 10th.
I'm gonna check and see if I have a copy in my truck, January 10th. And if I do, I'll come right back in. But I guess until then, January 10th it is.
Now, you mentioned you're putting arborvitaes. Where are you putting the arborvitaes?
Along the side of the fence, and I'd go over that with the planning department as well to make sure that they, you know, it would be where they'd want it and it would be acceptable.
The only thing is, the board's the one making the decision. The planning department is only an advisor. So,
It was really going to be around the whole point where we have the setback issue, because everywhere else, there's already trees and shrubs, and
okay.
so it's pretty much going to be around the whole front where we have the setback issue.
I was just looking at the drawing. The only place that the ornamental fence is indicated is along David's Drive. And that part is a really short run. The more impacting area is along Rice Field. The land goes up, or actually the road goes down, so people would be looking up at the base of the fence, and then the fence goes up from there.
We'd be willing to change that, to make it all ornamental, except for where we meet the setback.
Okay.
All right.
It's okay with me. It's,
Anything else, gentlemen?
No.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
It's regularly moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16569, PJ Ventures. Location, northeast corner of Crooked Hill Road and Long Island Expressway Service Road, Comac. Property zone SDB, request variance to reduce minimum parking spaces, excuse me, from 2,832
You want me to finish it? Want some water?
You okay?
I will wait.
I'm sorry, from 2,832 to 2,708 for a proposed 6,500 square foot restaurant.
Good evening, board members and chairperson. Name is John Baker, residing at 15 Wyandanch Boulevard in Smithtown for the application of PJ Venture. As Adrian said, we were looking for 124 parking stall variance, reducing it from about 2,800 stalls down by 124 to admit the installation of a new 6,500 square foot restaurant. The building would be in keeping with the architecture of the existing buildings. The variance would be needed to adequately park that restaurant space within the site, and the variance would be the only means of obtaining that use.
Can you tell me what the restaurant is?
Pardon me?
What kind of a restaurant?
It would be along the lines of an Outback.
Sorry.
We had looked at it, and we felt that the request is not substantial, and it seems to be in character with the district.
I ask a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Ready? Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Oh, I was going to, I should have asked if anyone, Tony, could you just,
Does anyone want to be heard on this application? No? I think we close it. You want to take 5 minutes?
yeah, that's, okay.
We're going to take 5 minutes.
56 Claremont Avenue, St. James, location. Southeast corner of Claremont Avenue and Livingston Street, St. James. Property zone R10. Request variance to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 5 for an existing 80 square foot shed. Hello.
Good evening, Madam Chairperson. Good evening, Board.
May I have your name and address?
Russell Cohen, 56 Claremont Avenue, St. James, New York.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I'm here this evening to apply for a variance for a shed that is on my property. The question I have, though, for the Board is, I have an existing certificate of occupancy for the shed, and my question really is, why am I asked to apply for a variance for a shed that is existing already, that I have a certificate from the town of Smithtown on? And I've asked numerous departments through the process and been told that I have to apply for a variance. doesn't make sense to me to apply for a variance for something that's existing when I do have the certificate of occupancy that was issued to the previous owner of the home prior to us buying it in 1995. So my question really is it really necessary, one, that we apply for this variance, and two, if we do, well, then we're before you to apply to try to get that variance. I've asked numerous departments. I've showed the certificate of occupancy, or I should say C of O, to different departments throughout the town through the process of getting the building permit for our swimming pool, and we seem to keep coming up with the fact that if the shed is there, it's the same shed. Yes, we have replaced it. It's in the same location. Why would we be brought to the board to obtain a variance for something that we already have a C of O for?
Is it the same size?
It's 2 feet smaller.
Go ahead.
I'll try and answer. I wasn't involved in the decision-making, and I didn't know that Mr. Cohen had asked anyone the question, but from what we've read of, or at least from what I've read of court cases in New York State, that a CO issued in error is not a valid CO. So if the CO is issued for something in violation, then the CO had no validity. That's my understanding.
Okay, so meaning if the CO was issued wrongly, so we're before you now to apply for that variance. But how do we know if it was issued incorrectly or correctly? Obviously, there was a certificate issued.
Right.
There was other items on the certificate that were also C of O, such as an existing deck that the previous homeowner had put on that list. So I'm just curious. We've incurred numerous expenses to go through the process, and I just feel, did we make an error and go to this point and have paid numerous amounts of money for a variance that we really don't need?
Well, I was trying to word it nicely. If the shed doesn't comply with the zoning requirement, then it must have been issued in error, unless there was a variance granted. The only other alternative is that the shed was issued a CO prior to the time that the side yard requirement was in effect, but that requirement goes back to about 1950.
And this was issued in 1995
Yeah.
by the previous owner, a month before we closed on the home. So
Right. And again, I don't have an axe to grind. This is the first that I've heard that about this property, but it just, to me, it's sort of clear that a CO was issued for something that didn't comply with the zoning ordinance. I'm not sure how it came up with you today. You were replacing the shed?
no, we actually applied to the town for a building permit for a swimming pool.
Oh, I see,
And
okay.
through inspection of the swimming pool,
They found the shed.
Right.
this pops up. So obviously, we're trying to do the right thing and go through the correct procedures. And
Sure.
the gentleman said, well, obviously the shed is an issue. So we went through the channels, and to be honest with you, we got no answer from the town. I mean, I have a copy of the seal. I brought it to the planning board. I brought it to the building department, all through the proper channels, and no one seems to give us a correct answer. And here we are
Sure.
before the board for a variance that I'm wondering if I read properly through the rules and regulations, so to speak, that I really shouldn't be here for a variance. I really should be here. Shouldn't have applied for a permit for the shed because the shed was C of O'd, and maybe we did change the shed later on, years later. So in my eyes, it would really just be a permit, not a variance. The shed's
Well, what he's saying is that it should never be, you should have never gotten a CO because it's in violation. You had to apply for a variance to put that shed up in the beginning. So I don't know if the previous homeowner applied for a variance. I'm assuming he did not.
according to no, you're right. They have not applied for a variance, but a C of O was issued. So I'm saying somewhere along the line,
Probably the simplest way to look at it is if sometimes there's an oversight. The building department doesn't actually pick up on the fact that on your application that it's closer to the property line, or it gets put into a location and the inspector doesn't pick up that it's closer, they'll issue the CO not knowing that the shed is there. They would know if on a property card it had said at some point a variance was issued. That not being the case, at any time you would have to come to this board for relief to get it.
okay, so that
Which is
brings-
good because you're here now, so.
Well, it also brings me to the fact that the town issued a C of O to the previous owner, okay? And now it's put into my lap. I have to incur all the additional expenses to get the variance, when in fact, if it was anything else possibly, you wouldn't need a variance for it.
Right. Well,
So,
obviously,
what I'm
it
saying
needs
is a
where it
mistake-
sits, it needs a variance. So.
Yeah, I'm saying either way, but the town possibly have made a mistake by issuing the previous homeowner this certificate, and now I'm basically picking up all the pieces and in taking care of all the additional costs for that, for a mistake that possibly the town of Smithtown made. Possibly, I'm saying, you know, so we're here before you then, I believe, for a variance then to get this corrected so we can move on and get our building permit and get that closed up. The shed is in the same spot that it was in from the original house. We have some pictures to show when the house was bought with dates on the back showing the shed was in the original position. I don't believe it's a, what you call a, whatever you got there is a requested of, you know, substantial difference. The shed's been there all along. It's not an environmental issue. It's behind the fence in our yard. Doesn't stand out or block anybody's view or cause any problem for anybody. It's in an enclosed yard in our property. So I request that the board issue a variance for this. It's been that way since, obviously, 1995. It's been in the same location for the most part, an inch or two either way, since we've replaced it in kind other than 2 feet smaller. So
Okay.
we request that the board make a variance for this.
Thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
It's regularly moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Next case is case 16571, Boulder Smithtown Properties LLC. Location, northeast corner of Nesconset Highway and Mount Pleasant Road. Smithtown Property Zone NB. Request variance to increase the maximum ground sign area from 32 square feet to 176 square feet. Variance to alter environmentally sensitive land, depth to groundwater less than 10 feet.
Donald King, 75 East Main Street, Kings Park, New York. Attorney for Insignia. Tony Scotto has built the premier restaurant on Long Island, and we're here tonight to ask for a variance for his sign. He has frontage along 347 of 848 feet, along Mount Pleasant Road of 146 feet. The actual sign is 45 square feet, but under the ordinance, as you know,
Yes.
if it's wider than 1 foot, you have to count both sides, and they count all the brick. And certainly, this sign will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. It fits right in. We can't, we have to come in for a variance if we want the sign. It's not substantial, certainly with that frontage. It will not have an adverse effect on the environment. With respect to depth to groundwater, that has been addressed when the restaurant was approved. And the difficulty is not self-created. We're here seeking relief.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Planning anything?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right. Are you coming to talk on the sign?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, my name is
Hi.
Lawrence Starkey.
Spell your last name
Staake,
and your address.
20 Brillner Drive, Smithtown, New York.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. My property backs to their property on the far east side of
You need the mic, please.
on the far east side of their property. So my house is not back to the parking lot or the restaurant or the new parking lot that they put up. And the sign will not be affecting my property at all. My only problem is that I'm assuming that a bigger sign means they're drawing more customers. And at a previous meeting that we had here, I was led to believe that there'd be half the customers at this restaurant as the previous restaurant. That's what we were told. You were at the meeting too, I believe.
I was.
And so if they're putting up a bigger sign, I'm assuming they're drawing more customers. And since they put this restaurant up, they've turned a dangerous intersection in Smithtown into like the perfect storm for tragedy. Because what they're doing, I mean, you people are aware of it, I'm sure, but they're valet parking people, and they're coming in on 347, and all the people are going out on Mount Pleasant making left-hand turns in an intersection that's already a mess.
All right, just let me tell you,
Okay.
the only thing that they're here for tonight is the sign.
Okay, well, I'm talking about them putting up a bigger sign to draw more customers.
But let
and
me, when I tell you the biggest sign, just let me explain something to you.
Okay.
The sign is only 45 square feet. In the ordinance, and I'll explain it to you. In the ordinance, we have to count all the brick as part of the sign. And because the sign is more than 12 inches, we have to double the square footage. So that's what the ordinance says. But the actual sign is only 45 square feet.
Okay.
I just wanted to make that
But
clear.
the purpose of the sign is to draw more customers. I'm not a business major, but I'm assuming that's what it's for. And if the board's saying that they can still, it's good that they're a new business and they're doing great business, but they're surely doing twice as many customers as they had at the previous one. And I'm assuming when I was here for previous meetings that Boulder Creek was there, they're going to have half the customers. We wouldn't have any more problems in that area than we ever did, and that is not the case. So I'm thinking that if you let them put up a bigger sign, it's to draw more customers. And they have parking issues because they built the parking lot behind the other thing, and I don't know if that's legal or illegal. I had called the town, and they have not got back to me yet on that. Plus, there are people are walking across the street from the other side, and there's no sidewalks or crosswalks where they're walking. So if you want more people to come, it's their people who are going to get hit by cars. They're workers and they're customers because they're parking in Friendlies, they're parking in meat farms.
Okay.
And so I think to let them put a bigger sign to draw more customers without addressing the other issues, like
I
a
think that
crosswalk.
probably will be addressed, but not by this board.
Okay, well,
It'll probably be addressed by the town board.
okay, well, I just think they shouldn't put up a bigger sign until they address the other problems.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. All right? All right. I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing then.
So moved. Second?
Directly moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16572, REP 80 Arcade Drive, LLC. Location is north side of Arcade Drive and east of Adams Avenue, Hauppauge Property Zone, LI. Request variance, reduce the minimum front yard setback for parking from 50 feet to 14. Reduce the minimum front yard landscaping area from 80% to 32%. Reduce the landscaping islands from 56 to 0. Reduce the required parking spaces from 894 to 648.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent Standard Microsystems, and you might be asking, how come we're back here so soon when you were good enough to give us the variances that we requested on July 13th, 2011? Well, the reason why we're back here tonight is when we first came here and got the decision in July, we really didn't have a customer to buy the building, and we were basing it on what we thought was an appropriate number of parking spaces with the elimination of certain drive aisles and the reduction of the setback on Suffolk Court. Well, in the interim, my clients entered into a contract to sell the building to Reckler Equity Partners. I don't have to tell you who Reckler is. They've been around Smithtown and Suffolk County for many years. There's 3 generations of Recklers that have been building and maintaining buildings for 3 generations. So we entered into this contract, and when actually it was Greg Reckler and his people who looked at it and said, look, we need a little bit more parking. We need to lessen the setback on Suffolk Court. We need these things in order to make this project work. We certainly want the project to work because we want to stay in Smithtown. Even though we're selling the building, we're renting a substantial portion of the building, and our workforce, the workforce that Standard Microsystems has, will remain, or most of them will remain, in Smithtown. So we need this application. We need the board to give it favorable consideration, so that we can stay there and the building will be utilized for its intended purpose, and that's basically office use, also warehouse use, and scientific use with respect to Standard Microsystems. Now, we have a bunch of experts tonight, and I know that scares you when I say that. And some of them are very boring, and some of them aren't. So I'm going to turn over the meeting to Guy Germano, who represents Reckler, and he promised me that he's only going to use these experts as sparingly as possible, but we need to get certain points across so that the board can give us the consideration that we hope they will. So
Are we doing the boring ones first?
I don't know. That's up to Guy. Mr. Germano?
That introduction, now I get to be the boring one. This is Guy Germano, 4250 Veterans Memorial Highway, Holbrook, New York, for Reckler Equity Partners, REP 80 RK LLC, the applicant.
All right, I need you to raise your hand, please. Oh, you're an attorney?
I'm an attorney.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
That's the next part.
All right, a couple of things before we get going. So basically we're here because we need to have additional parking for the office use. And we also have to get a reduction from what the required parking would be, and that's all in our application. Reckler requires a minimum of to operate his offices at 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet as a minimum. We have our experts here to show you that that's what we need, and how that works with the parking design that we've proposed. We also show what Standard Microsystems requires and how this also meets their needs. So the needs of the building will be met into the future. As a point, just so you know, Standard Microsystems is signing, as part of this transaction, a lease back for 123,000 square feet for 15 years. So it's a long-term lease. The other thing I want the board to be aware of, this is part of an industrial development agency project. It has been for a while. The agency has agreed to assign the sale leaseback transaction from Standard Microsystems to the new owner, Reckler Equity, in order for Standard Microsystems to maintain itself in the building, and the pilot will continue. And I have copies of a Newsday article for the board, basically explaining the approval.
Thank you.
One more thing before I actually get started. I became aware yesterday that the environmental department had suspended their review of the application pending a determination by Suffolk County that we had enough sewer capacity was assigned to the project from sewer district number 18 in order for the office use to succeed. I have here a copy of a letter I submitted to Mr. Barton by hand yesterday when I became aware of the issue that he raised. And behind that letter is the approval from Suffolk County. It's in the form of an email from Mr. Craig Plott, together with the calculations that were part of that. So we actually have the approval for the sewer project.
Okay.
The sewer effluent that we require for the office use.
Okay, great.
Now, can I have a color picture of the site plan that we're proposing. You previously approved in July, as Mr. Trimarco indicated, relaxation of the buffer here to 36 feet, and actually a relaxation of all the required islands from 56 to 0. What we're requesting, essentially, is to put another row of parking here that we require to meet our parking needs, and this would bring the setback to 14 feet here. And we've restored some of the interior islands so that this looks kind of nicer, both as you enter and from the inside. So we put back 18 islands, and we're taking down, and we're reducing the buffer so that we can put a row of parking across to give us the required parking. Now, Suffolk Court is a tertiary street. It's actually a dead end. It does service several buildings, more as a driveway. It's our secondary street. Our front is RK, and we wouldn't be here except that we have 2 fronts. So if this was a regular, normal lot, we wouldn't. The 14 feet we have here would be more than adequate. What I have here is some photos of the kinds of buffers that Reckler has done and will propose to do here, and we show it in our site plan. But it would be intensive, and it would look very nice. And you can see here's a before, and here's after of this same this building, and you can see before and after here. So, and these are dense, high-quality landscape treatments, which will give you the intensity of the buffer, if not the size of the buffer, so that you still have a very exceptional look for the property. And yet, at the same time, we'll get the parking that we need in order to achieve the requirements of the contract so this can go forward. If there's no questions on that, I will ask Mr. Peter Brown from Nelson and Pope, our traffic parking expert.
All right, may I have your name and address, please?
My name is Peter Brown, 38 Valley Avenue, Smithtown, New York.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Good evening. I will try not to be boring. I've been a traffic engineer on Long Island going back to 1956. I feel it shocks me sometimes when I think about that. I've been a traffic engineer with the state of New York, the town of Brookhaven, town of Islip, and for the last 15 years I've been employed by Nelson and Pope as a senior traffic engineer. We completed a traffic study, a parking assessment for this particular site for the purpose of determining is the parking that's proposed adequate to meet the needs of the 2 uses on the site. The first part of that, Standard Microsystems wants to retain 325 parking spaces. We took a look at their immediate needs. We added some cushion to that. It's adequate. The 325 spaces will meet their current needs, plus allow for some expansion, also allow if they have on-site conferences and things of that nature. The other 324 spaces assigned to the 76,488 square foot general office building. What we did is we have a study where we looked at office buildings in Suffolk County, multi-tenant office buildings, and we looked at the rates of parking at various buildings. And we also took a look at the recommendations of the Institute of Transportation Engineers. Both our study and the Institute of Transportation Engineers suggests that the requested parking of one space for every 250 square feet is more than enough to provide for the needs of the proposed office building. At this point, I would like to submit a copy of our assessment, or copies. And if there are any questions relating to what we did in that study or about the parking in general, I'd be happy to try to respond.
I want to pass them along, please. Anyone else want one?
While Mr. Brown hasn't read the entire report into the record, I'm just going to ask him if, in fact, if he was to testify with regard to everything that was in there, would that report represent his testimony?
Yes, it does.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
If there are no questions on the traffic report and the testimony, I'd like to ask, I'll ask Mr. Michael Lynch, our real estate expert, to approach.
Certainly. Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. My name is Michael Lynch. I'm here as a state certified real estate appraiser with offices at 15 Dewey Street in Huntington. I have appeared before this board in the past on several occasions. I have a copy of my CV.
Will you raise your right hand, please?
Certainly.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Before I get started, I'd just like to submit reduced copies of the display board that I prepared of the
Thank you.
property and the surrounding neighborhood.
Pass them along, please, if you don't mind.
So try to be as brief and concise as possible.
Good, thank you.
Being last on the agenda, hopefully the least boring. The property, as the board's aware, is 80 Arcade Drive in Hauppauge, identified on the tax map as 181, 1, 1.9, 1.15, 1.34, 1.35. The property is approximately 10 acres within the LI business zone. It's, as Mr. Germano indicated, it's a through lot. It runs, the front yard technically is along Arcade Drive, and it runs through to the rear of the property, fronting on Suffolk Court. So in effect, we have two front yards, but again, from a practical standpoint, the front of the property is along Arcade Drive. I took a series of photographs of the subject property as well as the surrounding neighborhood that I have to my left here, and at the bottom is an aerial Google view of the subject property as well as the the surrounding neighborhood. The first couple of photos are of the property and of the variances along the buffer areas that we're looking for, showing the existing conditions looking south from Suffolk Court in the first two photographs there. And again, you can see the existing parking buffer areas there from Suffolk Court. The next photo is a view of the parking area near Suffolk Court, looking east. The next several photographs, 4 through 6, are of other views of the Standard Microsystems building from Arcade Drive primarily. The next 4 photographs are of the surrounding properties along Suffolk Court to the northeast, directly opposite the property, and then abutting to the west of the property on Suffolk Court. And these buildings are a mix of R&D and warehouse properties, and an office building which is immediately to the west of the property, which is an accounting office. Again, that's immediately to the west of the property on Suffolk Place. So the character of the neighborhood, and again, is a mix of R&D, office, warehousing, and some manufacturing. So the requested partial conversion of the property to mixed-use offices will not be out of character with the immediate surrounding properties, as well as other properties in the Hauppauge Industrial Park. So as far as the other parking variances, Mr. Brown indicated, again, that the property is suited, well suited for the variance for parking from 894 spaces down to the requested 649. The setbacks of the property for parking at the rear portion along Suffolk Court requested from 50 feet to 14 feet. In my perusal of the neighborhood, as well as other properties in the Hauppauge Industrial Park, I found that the 14 feet is not something that's necessarily out of character with the industrial park. Just opposite Suffolk Court at 140 Adams Avenue, you've got the condominium complex, again, which is opposite Suffolk Place. And based on the scaling that I did of that buffer area, it ranges anywhere from a substandard 18 feet up to 35 feet for that particular parking variance. And it's that property has a very well-designed landscape buffer, something that the Recklers would certainly build out on their planned project for this property. And then I have another photograph of a property down on the corner of Parkway Drive South and Ricefield Lane, and that particular property is looking west from Ricefield Lane along Parkway Drive South. And that property, again, as the Standard Microsystem, it's a very well-maintained property. And from what I could scale on that particular parking setback along Parkway Drive South, the setback was, I believe, close to 12 feet. Again, it's a very well done parking buffer with a fence and a well-maintained lawn area. Again, something that the Recklers would certainly design in this particular parking buffer if the variances were granted. So just to go through the standards quickly, the requested variances will not produce any undesirable change to the character of the area nor to nearby property values. The building footprint will not change, nor will outwardly any portion of the building. All revisions will be internal as far as the partial conversion to multi-tenant office. The parking variances are minor and sustainable, as the traffic expert has demonstrated. And the parking buffer and landscape variances, which again apply to the rear portion of the property because we technically have 2 front yards, will not produce any adverse impact to the essential character of the neighborhood, as well, given the, also the planned landscape scheme that the Recklers proposed. Again, the requested variances are not substantial, as I noted, and the benefit sought by the applicant cannot be achieved in any other manner, given that the applicant needs to maximize parking and there's limited land, and the building is not to be expanded. So, again, it cannot be achieved in any other fashion. There will be no impact to the environment, as was noted. And the difficulty was not created since the applicant is looking to purchase the property and requires these variances. And again, if not for the technical two front yards, we would be in conformance with the parking buffer requirement, as well as the rear, the front landscape area along Suffolk Court. So with that, I can answer any questions that the board may have. Oh, I do have a couple of variances that I would like to submit. One was very recent decision by this board of a property on another Reckler property on Parkway, on Ricefield Lane, rather, with a reduction in the parking setback to 12 feet. And I'd like to submit that particular applicant zoning grant. There was also a grant a few years back across the street of the property diagonally opposite to the northwest of the property on Suffolk Court for parking variance for an expansion of that building. And I'll also submit that particular grant. So again, if the board has any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Yeah, I have a question.
Certainly.
I don't know if this is more properly for Mr. Tremarco, but what would be the impact to the applicant if we didn't give the relief that you're requesting?
The parking relief?
Well, if we don't get the parking relief, then we cannot, in terms of the
You need to use the microphone, please. I'm sorry.
we require the parking relief in compliance with the contract, and if we can't get it, then we can't go forward with it, because we wouldn't be able to operate the office use, which is the intended use for 76,000 square feet that Reckler is going to use for multi-tenant offices. So it wouldn't be a project.
Thank you.
Okay, planning?
Thank you.
Did you want to do anything with the landscaping, or?
Well, one thought I had is trading in some of the islands for some landscaping in the street, but I think Mr. Lynch's presentation on the character of the area behind them, and I think Mr. Germano's representation that they would provide additional planting, or so that the people on Suffolk wouldn't have to basically look at a bunch of pavement. I think that answers any objectives that the planning department has.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
No other questions?
that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
It's regularly moved to second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
He said aye, too.
Okay. I guess I'll give you all this and I'll empty it. You don't need 5 copies of everything. Next case is case 16573, Andrea Miller, 8 7th Avenue, Smithtown location, south side of 7th Avenue, west of Maple Avenue, Smithtown, property zone R10. Request variance to reduce the minimum front yard from 40 feet to 9 for a proposed 228 square foot portico. Reduce the minimum front yard from 40 feet to 17 for a proposed second floor addition and a proposed 24 square foot side porch. And your name, please?
Michael Miller?
And Andrea Malazzo Mel.
Okay. I'm sorry. Sorry. We're ball having a little problem. Yeah. It must be something I'm allergic to in this room. You think I was ready to go, huh? They fixed the bucket. Oh, I know it. I know. Mhm. I'm sorry.
That's
May
okay.
I have your name again, please?
Michael Miller,
Andrea Malazzo Miller.
Okay. And your address, please?
8 7th Avenue, Smithtown, New York.
Okay. Will you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Good. Good. Want to tell us why you're here?
Yes, we're requesting the variance to reduce the front setback for our house. We want to put an addition of a second story onto a current first story portion of our home. And being that the whole house currently resides in the setback as it was built, we need the variance. As far as reducing or producing an impact on adjacent properties, we're moving up. We're moving up on the second story up over an existing first floor, and we're adding on a front covered porch and a side covered entrance, all of which exist with the exception of the front porch, which is being made wider across the front of the house and is going to increase by 2 feet for safety reasons. We feel the request isn't substantial in that we're not changing the footprint of the house at all. We're not moving closer to any of the other homes in the area. We currently do have a front stoop and steps, which come out. The additional front porch is only going to be about 1.5 feet deeper than the current one is, although it will go the width of the house for architectural purposes. There should be no environmental impact. As far as achieving it by any alternative, we can't move the house on the property, so we don't really have an alternative to go anywhere else on the property. We're not going to have any effect on the environment, as that we're going to be in the same house. We're adding a room upstairs. And as far as the difficulty being created by us or a former owner, the difficulty was created in the fact the house was built in the 1850s and put on its foundation approximately 1920, and I believe the street didn't go until 1950. So we were there first. So we didn't create that. So we basically wanted to get the variance to create the front porch, the side porch, and to increase the second floor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Planning? Gentlemen. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Drilling moved to second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16574, Frank and Mary Gigliolo, 2 Winwood Drive, Wisconsin. Location, northeast corner of Winwood Drive and Nicholas Road, Wisconsin, property zone R10. Request variance to reduce the front yard setback from 35 feet to 14 for an existing 6-foot fence. And may I have your name, please?
Mary Giglioli, 2 Winwood Drive, Wisconsin, New York.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Are you going to speak? This gentleman, okay.
first.
Okay, that's fine. You can sit, thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. My name is Doug Hines, Design Development Group, Land Use Consultants.
Okay. Spell your last name just.
H-Y-N-E-S?
All right. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you so much.
I've supplied the staff of the planning board with the affidavit of posting and the affidavit of compliance with the notification requirements, as well as copies of several exhibits that we'll be handing up. The subdivision map of which this property forms a part was filed in 1995 and provided for a 35-foot front yard setback for all 53 lots comprised in the subdivision, including our lot 27. Frank and Mary bought their home in 2000, had their fence erected in 2004 to try to mitigate a number of adverse impacts that had been developing along the old Nichols frontage, without realizing they needed more than a 12-foot side yard. However, as the board is well aware and planning is well aware, our property fronts on 2 streets, and therefore we need to make the required 35 feet on each of those streets. I'd like to hand up to the board a packet of surveys showing the location of the fence and a series of photographs showing the conditions surrounding the property.
Oh, we have all of these. These we have. Let me just see now. And I believe we have all of these also. Okay.
Double done is well begun.
Yeah, all right.
We are requesting a variance to reduce the required setback on the old Nichols frontage, as shown on the survey, to 27 feet in lieu of the required 35 in the southwest quadrant of our property, near the corner of Windwood and Old Nichols, and ranging down to a setback of 14 feet in the southeast corner of the site where we come up against the Smithtown Greenbelt property. You will note from the photographs and from your own familiarity with the area that the fence is heavily screened by natural vegetation, which is actually part of a scenic easement established at the time of the subdivision, and that vegetation cannot be removed. I don't know if it's necessary. I do have a copy of correspondence dated August 18th, 2011, at which time the planning board adjusted the scenic easement and in effect granted us a waiver to maintain the fence in the position where you see it on the survey. The scenic easement is now deemed to be the area outside the fence up to the Old Nichols roadway. At the time of their decision, the planning board found that the location of the fence did not impair any pedestrian or vehicular sight lines, as I am sure the board will conclude from a review of the photographs, the survey, and their familiarity with the area. We do not believe that the variance would create an unwanted impact. We are a corner lot. Our neighbor to the rear is the Greenbelt. We have one neighbor to the side that will speak tonight, and we have a neighbor across the street who has asked us to submit on his behalf a signed consent dated December 11th, 2011, submitted by Mr. Chintan, C-H-I-N-T-A-N, Patel, P-A-T-E-L. Fence, of course, is a minimal structure, substantial remaining landscape buffer to Nichols Road, no environmental impact to speak of. And as you can see from the survey, given the irregular shape of our property, had we placed the fence 35 feet back from Old Nichols, the rear portion of our backyard would have been reduced to 29 feet of usable space, which created a hardship for us. As to the beneficial effect of the fence, the board is familiar with the busy roadway, with the growth of the commercial properties around Smith Haven. Especially this time of year, we have a considerable impact on our property. And visits from neighboring youth who think that the woods is their playground, but it's actually our backyard. Accordingly, we would respectfully request your approval of the variance ranging from a second front yard of 27 feet at the southwest, ranging to 14 feet at the southeast. Thank you very much.
Planning? Gentlemen. Okay. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Come up, please. May I have your name and address?
Yes, my name is Joseph Barraco, B-A-R-R-A-C-O, 4 Wynwood Drive, Wisconsin, New York.
Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes. Well, I want to know, because I got to walk, okay? Number one. And I want to know if where's the fence now, it belongs there or no? You know, right now they got a 6-foot fence. I want to know if it belongs there. What they do? They got to move the fence back or what?
No, I believe it's existing. It's exactly where it is now.
So I got the letter say remove it back, some kind. Say remove it 15 feet back. So what you mean back this way or?
No, it's going to stay where you see it. That's where it's going to stay.
Okay. Now, another problem. I was over here last time and there's a problem there for the traffic. Okay. There was a lot of accident. I'm there 11 years. Okay. I'm a first owner, and there was a lot of traffic there. I request over stops. A light street light. Okay, there was a lot of dead people there. Okay, so you know we got to do something. 6 feet. I'm on Nichols Road. I live in Nichols Road. If you make it a left turn on Nichols, from the left turn from Wynwood to Nichols, left turn in the summer with the tree, or you cannot see car coming in. Okay, and so it got to be something done. Okay, because it's very dangerous. Like I say, I'm 11 years there, and I see dead people. Okay? In fact, this morning, there was some kind of accident there. Okay? 4 o'clock in the morning. I just happened to be awake because I got to bring my sister to the hospital. I see all this accident. Okay? So you got to do something. Because when you turn, especially, like I say, especially in the summertime, with all these trees, okay, and we got to make a left, which I requested last time I was here, okay, you got to go over on Nichols Road to see who's coming on the left.
Is the fence causing a problem?
Well, something could cause a problem. I mean, we have, last time I was here, I said, we have Smithtown, we have a rule of regulation. Let's do something about it, especially on the busy street. I mean, you could see, especially summertime, busy. Right? It's a busy street, it's a highway. And I see people, believe me, I see people dead. Okay? Not them, but me, I see before them, they move in. So we got to do something about it. Or put a sidewalk, I got to walk. And my walk is on Nichols Road. I even call the safety department to put a white line where people could walk at least. No sidewalk, nothing. Where you got to walk? It's a very bad area. And we request, like I say, stop sign. No, there is a stop sign. Excuse me. There's a stop sign. But there is 100 miles. Because Nichols Road, you go 100 miles an hour. Okay? I request last time to put a light right there. That's the easy way. This way, people stop it right there. Now, I'm what's the other road? Across from Nichols Road, from I can't remember this moment.
Winwood Drive? No. Winwood Drive?
Winwood, on the end, from Winwood to, there's another street, there's new homes right there.
Mauritius?
Excuse me?
No? No. Yeah, we don't.
Information to the appropriate department, to the traffic department, to try to get them to do something about it.
Yeah. See, this is not in our authority, but as Mr. Flynn is saying, that maybe you should contact the traffic department.
I did it, and I got no answers. I did everything in name. I did it. There's no answer. I was here for immediately, for this thing. Okay. Yeah. We found out, but nothing get done. That's the thing. Hey, we pay like everybody else, tax. Okay, and we pay a lot of money. Let's do something about it. I want the fence. All the fence is a proper line, fine, but clean up everything right in the opposite of the fence, where the town is supposed to clean. They never do nothing. You call up, yeah. Right now, this is a mess. Okay, this mess. I mean, where people gotta walk? I am very, very upset for these things. Okay, let's do something about it. That's what I ask.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may just briefly, following the planning board hearing,
Bring that mic up.
Following the planning board hearing, there was a reserved decision prior to the approval in August. At that time, the board asked that the Highway Department and Code Compliance take a look at the area. As I indicated during my testimony, we cannot take any vegetation out of the scenic easement area. It's a natural growth, it's heavy trees, it's bushes, it's poison ivy. However, we were given to understand that the Highway Department did go by, check the sight lines, satisfy themselves that it was safe visibility at the intersection, and they did trim back some branches along the Old Nichols Road frontage. We understand that that much was done at least, and we would stand by our testimony. We believe it's a safe sight lines at least, and the fence has no substantial adverse impact on that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Ready, move the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. Let me see if I can. Yeah, this goes, we'll have to clean these folders, okay. Next case is case 16575, Robert and Josephine Marletto, 9 Cedar Place, Kings Park, location, north side of Cedar Place, west of Oak Hill Lane, Kings Park, property zone R15. Request variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 45 feet to 40 for an existing 96 square foot roof and an existing 203 square foot porch. Reduce the minimum side yard setback from 16 feet to 4 for an existing 8 feet by 14 feet shed and an existing 6 by 8 feet shed. Reduce the minimum total side yard setback from 34 feet to 16. And your name, please?
David James from the office of John Bracco, 17 Main Street.
Are you an attorney?
Architect.
No. I need the applicant.
Okay.
Thank you. May I have your name, please?
Robert Muffaletto,
And your address, Robert.
9 Cedar Place, Kings Park.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Now, would you like this gentleman to speak for you?
Yes, because he's better prepared than I am right now.
Okay, good. All right. What I need you to do now is to not only state your name, but spell it for me.
Sure.
Everybody, all right?
It's easy.
Okay.
David James, James, from the office of John Bracco, Architects, 17 Main Street, Sayville, New York, 11782.
Okay, and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening. We are here tonight on behalf of the Muffalatos who live at 9 Cedar Place in Kings Park, New York. They are requesting a variance to maintain an existing 96-square-foot roof-over attached garage, having a front yard setback of 40 feet, and to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 45 feet to 41 feet for an existing 203-square-foot roof-over porch with portico. They are also seeking for relief in regards to 2 sheds that are within the side yard. After driving around the neighborhood and also living within the area myself, I've noticed, and also through aerial research, we determined that these conditions are not unusual to the neighborhood, and therefore we feel the relief sought is in keeping with the general nature and character of the area. If the board has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Planning? Gentlemen? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next case is case 16576, Carolinda Gillio, 31 White Cliff Lane, Wisconsin. Location, north side of White Cliff Lane, east of Meadow Court, Wisconsin. Property zone R10. Request variance reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 50 feet to 39 for an existing 688 square foot deck with a 201 square foot top trellis.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. I'm Sharon O'Brien, 54 Miller Place, Middle Island Road, Mount Sinai, New York.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
I have submitted to council a power of attorney giving me permission to represent the Gillios. And we are before you this evening seeking permission to maintain an existing deck, 688 square feet, with a 201 square foot trellis atop. The deck is located on the rear of the residence, and we are holding a rear yard setback of 39 feet when 50 is required. The relief sought is only 11 feet, which we feel is not a substantial request. The adjacent property owner to the east is enjoying the benefit of a deck on the rear of his residence, so we are not impacting the adjacent property owners. We are not in an environmentally sensitive area, and the deck as it stands has been existing since August of 2007 with no problems or complaints. The benefit sought could not be achieved without the benefit of a variance because the distance from the rear of the residence to the rear property line is only 62 feet, and holding a 50-foot setback is very restrictive. The structure was built by the present homeowner, but we feel the problem was created with the filed map, which was filed February 27, 1995. If the board has any questions?
Planning? Gentlemen? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Ready, moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16577, Anna Messina and Brian Ward, 2 Height Road, Fort Salonga. Location, west side of Height Road, north of Brewster Drive, Fort Salonga. Property zone R43. Request variance to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 16 feet to 13 and reduce the total side yards from 34 feet to 31 for an existing fireplace. And your name, please.
Hi, my name is Brian Ward. I'm at 2 Heights Road, Fort Salonga.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. As you said, I'm requesting a minimal reduction in our side setbacks from 16 feet to 13 feet, and our overall 34 feet to 31 feet for an existing outdoor wood-burning fireplace that we constructed. We know that we have not affected our neighbors, as part of my documentation that I gave Mr. Flynn there. I have letters from our neighbors stating that they are okay with the fireplace being where it is, and the reduction of the side setbacks as well. We don't believe it's a substantial request. We're asking for an additional 3 feet on our side yard, and as part of the original documentation, the inspector did come out and he did look at it at the time it was built, and we were told to move it the setback into the 13 feet. We would be okay, as his document says. Evidently, subsequent to the filing of that inspection, when he went back to his office, we found out that a variance was required. So that's why I'm here before you right now. As part of my documentation, there is a copy of that inspection notice. We don't believe it impacts the environment in any way. It's not an abnormally large fireplace. It's more scenic than it is functional. I think that's it. I'll entertain questions if you have any, please. Mm-hmm.
Planning?
There's a large grasshopper heading your way.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it coming to us?
He's coming right
It's
at you.
coming right under, it's right underneath you.
Swear it in.
Cute. All right. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Really moving second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So where is this? I gotta get him. Better than the rooster. You never know what's happening. All right. Next case is case 16578, Area International Grill and Bar. Anyone here for that? Okay.
Seems like it's been closed for a couple of weeks.
Okay. All right. No show, I guess. All right. Next case is case 16578, AMBI Realtor, 88 Terry Road, Smithtown location, southwest corner of Terry Road and North Avenue, Smithtown. Property zone NB and R10. Request variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 50 feet to 0 for proposed 9 by 12 trellis breezeway. Reduce the minimum front parking setback from 6 feet to 0. Reduce required parking from 26 to 10 spaces. Reduce required parking loading spaces from 1 to 0. And your name, please?
I am John Tassetta with Pegasus Engineering, 6 Nadwarney Lane, Stony Brook, New York. I'm here with the
Who is the owner?
Ah.
you have any cards? He's asking you.
In the car, I can bring it.
All right, let me have the owner first, please.
Itai Vishnia.
What is it?
Itai Vishnia.
Spell your name, please.
Itai. Last name is Vishnia, Vishnia.
Okay. And your address, please?
1 Cumberland Path, Setauket, 11733.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Now, are you going to speak, or would you like this gentleman to speak for you?
Actually, I'd like to have John and my wife, Dr. Vishnia, to speak.
All right. Then I need to swear you both in. So let me have your wife first. May I have your name, please?
Slightly shorter. Sagit, S-A-G-I-T. Vishnia, same last name, V-I-S-H-N-I-A.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. And now, gentlemen.
John Tassetta, JohnTacetta.
Your address?
6 Nadworny Lane, N as in Nancy, A, D as in David, W-O-R-N-Y Lane, Stony Brook, New York, 11790.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm the engineer preparing the application for this submittal. Before we proceed, I'd like to point out an error in the variance requested. The memorandum from planning is actually 16 spaces to 10. I believe that was probably a typo. And then secondly, this is an application for a second-story addition, so we also need to add the variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 50 feet to 15 feet for a proposed 20 by 33.3 second-story addition.
Excuse me.
That was included in the mailing. It was apparently omitted in the notification you sent to us.
I don't know how we can hear this. Has to be re-advertised.
Well, it was included in the mailing.
It was included in the mailing.
We might be able to proceed. I mean, people have actual notice if they got the mailing.
Can I see the folder, please?
We've been saying all three, right?
Yeah, I have the mailings here.
I mean, you've been saying all three.
I'm sorry.
So if you want to be consistent with everybody else. Madam Chair.
Excuse me?
That's in the denial, which is listed. The town listed.
The town missed it. It was supposed to be put into the
newspaper.
there was a-
Into
there
the
was a
paper as well.
modification. There was
Right.
a modification that we originally. when
You know what,
first-
go to
we-
the microphone so
oh,
that,
sorry.
so that they can get it on the television.
Yes, when we first applied, we noted it, and it was supposed to be revised. And I guess we got the mailing and it hadn't been revised.
Well, the concern of the board is that although the neighbors were notified, the general public wasn't notified, and that's part of the reason for requiring, we realize it's not your error, but we're just saying, part of the reason for the publishing in a paper is to give notice to anyone else who might be affected, but not necessarily within 200 feet. So, and the board has really been very consistent with requiring all the forms of notification, not just the one, not just the individual notices. So I think in order for them to treat this case just like every other.
I don't even see that in the denial.
Oh, you know?
couple of months ago. It went out of
Did
building.
the application change? Did the application change?
No, it didn't. There was just,
Oh, the application remained the same, but another feature was noted that needed a variance?
That's correct. The application remains unchanged.
Yeah, yeah. He's got the original application.
Yeah, right.
You want to see this?
The application's also
In there, right.
You want to pass this down?
You know, it doesn't really matter how it happened. We're going to have to adjourn it, and the town's going to have to re-advertise. And how about the mailings?
No, the mailings are correct, so that, always, yeah.
Well, he just
just
has
has
to
to
keep
post
it
the property
posted
again.
so that you're going to adjourn to a date
But don't they
certain.
have to get a denial? I don't see a denial for that part of the application.
Oh. Yeah, the denial should be amended, I think. Does John have his original denial?
The public notice says to reduce the front yard from 50 to 0 for a trellis.
I'm
He needs
looking
from
at the
50 to
denial
15
now, and I
for second
see
story
under
addition.
comments regarding a 267 square foot addition, but it's not in the denial format, just as a comment.
Whatever the cause of the error, I think we have to re-advertise it. I mean, if the board wanted to, since they're here, maybe hear the portion of the case that's been properly advertised, adjourn it, and then they would come back, someone would come back at a certain meeting, and if there's anyone here that wishes to be heard because of the second notice, you could give them that opportunity, or just adjourn it now and have them make the whole presentation once.
And perhaps the denial should be amended. Do you think so, Mr.
Yeah.
Bongino?
It has to be,
Yeah,
it has to be amended, the denial.
yeah. It's just, you didn't do anything wrong. It's just a matter of public notice.
Oh, no, I
You
understand.
know, crossing all the Ts and dotting all the Is, so nobody can come around down the road and say, wasn't properly noticed to the public. Due
But
process.
the comment is just that they're doing a second edition, but now they're going, the variance is going from, what? That's not just,
50 to 15.
There's a front yard variance required from 50 to 15 for a second-story addition.
right.
It's been advertised from 50 to 0 for a trellis.
So that's a considerably different secondary variance.
It is.
Yeah, that I think the general public should know. So unfortunately, we're going to, but it's up to you, Madam Chair, if you want to let them proceed with the part that was properly noticed.
Right now, was there anybody here that was going to speak on this?
Nobody.
Doesn't sound like there's much interest.
Yeah, I know. You're still going to have to come back, no matter what. I mean, you can do part of the presentation, and then come back and do the whole presentation,
We got a babysitter, we might as well talk to them.
Well, it's kind of frustrating, the amount of time that we've been waiting thus far is just, no, I'm not talking about today, to get to the hearing. It's like a few months. As a businessman, it's,
well, I'm
yeah,
very sorry, but,
very frustrating. I understand what you're saying, it's just that it's
Yeah.
not our error,
Yeah.
and I would hope that at the next hearing.
I can put you on the next hearing, but the next hearing is January 10th,
Then so be it.
all right? But if you want to do part of it tonight, you're welcome to, and then come back January 10th and continue. I would adjourn it. Up to you.
We're ready tonight.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we're.
And then you're gonna
we can
have to come
speak
back for
certainly
that
to all
other
the
part.
points in the as advertised mailing. What we're requesting is we'd like to install a breezeway. We'd like to enhance the look of the building. We'd like to raise the roof a little bit, just in order to change from a 1.5-story to a 2-story building. And we'd like to install parking in the front of the building. The lot right now is a rather deep lot and intrudes into the residential zone behind Terry Road. So we'd like to put the zoning up in the neighborhood business zone right in front of the existing building. The right-of-way is rather deep there, so we have to cut into the road. But we believe that the alternative, putting the parking back in the residential zone, would be much less attractive to the residents and to the board.
Okay. Let me just tell you, we have concerns as far as putting the parking in the front there. So let me turn it over to planning and tell, they can give you their recommendations.
Well, first off, I think we would recommend approval of the variances necessary to expand the building. It looks like that the parking can be fit in a safer way. 3 parallel stalls that are parallel to the curb. The end 2 are really not very functional because it's difficult to get into spaces that deep, that are not that deep. And our concern is that human nature is that people will park head first in because it's too hard to park parallel. The highway department, my understanding, is also opposed to giving a curb cut to allow for that. And even if the board granted the variance, doesn't mean the highway department would allow a curb cut for that. So it seems to me that there are different ways that the parking could be expanded in the back. The hard part about expanding in the back is the septic system is higher than the top of the septic system is higher than the parking lot is now, so that makes it very difficult to expand that area. However, there is wiggle room to basically trade in the 3 spaces there for 3 spaces in the back. And I think that there's a sketch somewhere in the file that depicts that shows that up to 14, I think, spaces could be fit in the back. And we would recommend something along that lines. Incidentally, I think it's also not only more in keeping with traffic safety, I think it tends to be better from a drainage standpoint. It contains the water on site to have your own parking lot as opposed to directing it to the street, which the highway department normally doesn't like to do. When you have the spaces by the gutter, typically it'll pitch toward the gutter. And the drainage systems usually are not designed to take into account on-site runoff. So that would be our only concern. Other than that, we would recommend to go. I think this is a good project. I think it'll work for the town. I didn't know the building would look so good. I hope it gets built as nicely as it's depicted. And that's basically it.
Would you like to look at the drawing?
Certainly.
Why don't you take it back and you can just...
Well, I do note that it does intrude dramatically on the existing septic system, as was noted. The system is up a lot higher than the existing parking lot. Rather unfortunate, but that's a consequence of the high groundwater table in the area. So achieving this design would actually require elevation of the existing parking lot dramatically, probably by about 3 foot or more.
Then the parking stays at the grade that it is.
I'm looking at this this red line here that encompasses, I assume that's a curb line.
I'm sorry?
This red line here, that's a curb line?
Correct.
So here's the septic system's in the
Right.
upper left-hand corner of that curb line.
Right, and if part of that, we tried to outline the whole potential area.
Ah, I
If
see,
the
okay.
septic system, if it's not feasible to lower it or build a parking lot higher than it, then that's the equivalent of about 3 stalls. So if those 3 stalls were not installed, then the rest of the red line shows the potential area. There are other alternatives too of flipping the entrance a little bit. Another stall could be built closer to the office.
Well, you know, I suppose it's good that we're adjourning because I'd have to play with the
Sure, you have to
layout a
start-
little bit to do this. There's a number of concerns I have with this, all centering on the location of the septic system. Suffolk County requires us to maintain a level from a minimum of 10 feet from the edge of the rings to accommodate drainage or potential exfiltration from the system.
If you didn't put the 3 parking stalls in with the, that would give you 11 parking stalls.
I think he's saying not necessarily.
No?
Because the Suffolk County normally doesn't allow the land to pitch down in a way like next to the ring itself. But in fairness to, I think, the engineer, he needs time to absorb this. It's the first he's seen it, I guess.
Mhm.
I could work out some alternative layouts with the parking, but as I said, as you say, it will take some time. I do have some concerns. You know, one of the, obviously, we would like to, the work on the existing parking lot was just completed, so we would hate to just throw that work away.
And your existing parking lot has how many spaces? Has
8 spaces?
8. That's all it has is 8? The existing only has 8, right? Parking spaces?
That's correct. There are currently 8 parking spaces on the property.
Yeah, and maybe you can get 2 somewhere on that.
Well, I'll try and squeeze them out. I mean, the real alternative would be to.
I need to stop you for 1 minute.
Go ahead.
They're changing the tape.
Hold that thought.
Hold that thought.
Really compact cars. There are provisions.